You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Hey everybody, I'm Kincho Kelly, and welcome into another episode of the Digging In Podcast. I am back in the host chair where I belong, and that gentleman over there is back where he belongs. That's Zach Gray, the founder of Rooted Wealth Advisors, wizard of all things financial.
Doubtful. But I'm excited to be here with you, Kinch. Always having fun on the podcast, but also bringing some value for our viewers. So let's dive in.
That's absolutely correct. And I think we get people from all walks of life listening to this. I think we have clients listening to this to check up on how we're doing, if we've stayed sane. I think we've got some people looking into us and who we are, maybe looking at us as using us as their advisory team. Then I think we have other people from around the industry, like just wanting to hear thoughts from yourself. Maybe I pose an interesting question and want your thoughts on it. But I think today I really want to go down what growth looks like for you, what leadership looks like for you. I know we've gotten some questions from clients about like, hey, you opened up a location in Nashville last year. Hey, this year, what do I hear about you being in Denver? And so there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot that we do for clients, but then there's a lot you do for the team in the business aspect of that. Do you care to share a little light on that?
Yeah, so there is a lot of questions about why expansion and how does this affect me? And sometimes that question comes from a client. Hey, is this going to affect me? The hope is no. And if any effect, it'd be in a much more positive light. We've continuously built out the advisor team. What used to be just myself is now, of course, Joe, John, and Jackson, and Andrew, and Logan, and it just, and that doesn't stop, right? The service advisor team even gets bigger than that. And so our goal there is to always be making sure that we're putting our clients' best interest first. Obviously, we're fiduciaries here at Rooted Wealth Advisors. Every advisor on the team holds that credential, and we take that real seriously. And to do that, we feel as we continue to grow, we've got to continue to grow out the team so that, hey, when the phone rings and you need something, that someone's on the other end and they're able to step in, get that taken care of right away. We never want to be that firm that doesn't have that connection, to our clients. We talk a lot about that, some here on the podcast, but we speak about that in kind of our brand or our message. And always be treating folks the way that we would want to be treated. So that means that, hey, if there's an emergency, if there's something that needs to be taken care of, we want to make sure it's going right to somebody. We might be recording a podcast. We might be sitting in meetings, and we want to make sure that we're handling that right away. So there's a lot of reasons for expansion, which we can get to. But I guess the one thing that always is the answer for us is that we want to make sure that folks feel loved and cared for. And we know that we're put here to serve our client base. And so ultimately, we're just continuing to grow and expand as a team as we continue to grow and expand into potentially some other states and in places of the U.S.
Mm-hmm. And I think we've heard all kind of ranges on the spectrum, right? Because you've got clients that have been with you since the very beginning, right? When it was you and Hilda and John, and the team was pretty small, right? But I think what we realize, like, we want our clients to grow. We want our business to grow. I think as we continue to realize, like, just people specializing in really getting really good players at what they're doing, getting it really honed in on their position, it better serves everyone across the board, right? And so there are several things that you probably used to be involved in the business that you're no longer, like, you've been able to task somebody else as that's their specialty now, and leaving you to do more specialized tasks for yourself, right? I love the idea of, like, everybody's growing together. We just had a team training not that long ago. Just getting everybody in the same spot is a task these days. But just what that means for our clients and our families as we get better professionally and personally.
Well, two thoughts with that. I mean, yes, you're correct. Some folks, maybe it's you watching, remember when it was just me and one office, one team member, and now we're with team members into the teens, and we outsource a large part of our work. And if we took that into consideration, that number would get pretty sizable pretty fast due to some of those key relationships that we have. what I once again want to reiterate, that the reason that we're growing is that we never want to be in a position where we're ever hamstringed, right? It's Zach's on a family emergency and something can't get completed. We always want to make sure that we're putting our clients on that pedestal that they deserve. It's their hard-earned money. For many of our clients, it's nearly all of the money that they've worked so hard for, and we do not take that lightly at all. I think, to your point, to be made even about the team, and then maybe we can touch on expansion to these other states, is we also realize that we need to bring in as good a talent as humanly possible. So we have recently joined forces with an analyst group out on the East Coast, taking a fresh look at how can we provide the best, world-class financial advice to our clients. We've talked in past podcasts about, we have a CPA relationship, an accounting relationship, a tax attorney relationship. We share one of the offices with an estate planning attorney that we lean into for our clients' needs and some recommendations and expertise. We can't be all things. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. We've got a fair amount of training through our advisory team on that, but that's not us. And we have to be able to bring in the experts where we can. We've also realized, as we start to continue to focus on growing the team, bring in those A players, Kinch, as you just mentioned, we have to make sure that they're looking at this as not a job. Mm-hmm. This is truly a career path. And we think that one of the ways of which we get that type of focus, we get that type of buy-in from our team members, is to be looking at this under the lens of, okay, where is growth? Where is expansion? I don't know about you, but one of the things that's continuously propelled the size of this firm, and one of the reasons I started it in the first place when it was literally $0 under management, is just the idea of growth. Everyone wants to be a part of something that's going to impact individuals, that's really that is growing in a trajectory to, once again, be a positive impact to the internal culture and team, to them individually or to their families, but also to the people that they serve. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about an audio and video company that's recording us right now, mm-hmm. or whether it's us helping people with their hard-earned assets. So I guess that's a big backstory of, as we start to take a look at it, as I've looked at that with some key team members on this team, as I've even visited with Jenna, my spouse, that's one of the reasons that we start to go, hey, listen, for us to bring world-class to Central Illinois and beyond, we've got to have a story that's attractive. And that's very true of even folks that decide to work with us. We've got to have a story to say, hey, listen, we're going to be here for you, committed to you, through thick and thin. This isn't, as I jokingly say, some guy that's slinging some investments out of the trunk of a car. This is a real team-based approach that's got its roots in several areas of Central Illinois, now several areas throughout the country. And we're going to continue with that growth and that mindset.
Rocket ship to the moon.
Let's go.
Rocket ship to the moon. No, it's so much more fun, right? Invigorating, energizing to be a part of something that is growing, that you 100% believe in the vision and the people behind that vision even.
Well, I think that what's interesting is there's two thoughts that come to mind. When I was extremely young in the business, some folks would look at me and they would say, Zach, I don't know. I like the fact that you've got some education. I like the fact that you seem like a good guy, a good kid, as I would get back in those days. Now, what I hear from a lot of folks is, hey, you know what? I've been with my guy or gal, but they're getting to the point of retirement themselves. And I don't know that there's been a good baton pass to anyone else on their team, or maybe it's just them and an assistant. That was one influencer as we've continued to build and expand, because let's just call a spade a spade. I want to make sure that that's never the relationship that they get here at Rooted. I want to make sure that there's, I've loved Zach until this point, right. But what happens if something happens to him or et cetera, et cetera. So I think that that's important, to note here, is just as we start to think through that expansion piece, that's critical. And then I think also, what would I want? Do I want where it's just, once again, a one-person situation? Because the truth of the matter is, this is a bit of a side note, many times we feel as if maybe it's something great that we said on a podcast, or something that we said on a television show, or a book that we wrote, or whatever the case might be, and we think, oh, this is like the golden ticket. This is the real influencing piece. It moved the dial. And as we've kind of peeled back the onion over the years and gotten great relationships where we've said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, if you don't mind me asking you just a really kind of blunt, it's a bit crude of a question, but why do you do business with us? Why did you choose us? Many times what we've realized is they say, well, we liked, what you had to say, but, when I called my guy or gal, what I realized is they might not get back to me for a week. When I called my guy or gal, what I realized is that, well, he's out on vacation and his one single staff member just can't answer my questions. And all of a sudden it was like, well, it's a bit of a shot to maybe an ego of saying, well, man, I thought it was maybe these things, these efforts, and no doubt that it probably was to some extent. But the truth is that it became, I don't hear from my guy or gal. It's the reason we give weekly feedback to our clients. I don't hear from them. As you know, we have kind of a sequence that we go through to make sure we're reaching out and touching base for reviews and sit downs with our clients. We have, kind of bring a friend or ambassador events, just flat out client appreciation events. And yeah, some of that's to have fun, but a good chunk of that is truthfully to be connecting with our clients, because many times they'll tug on my shirt tail there and say, hey, by the way, we're having to deal with this situation, whether it be a positive, whether it be a negative. Can we sit down? And of course is the answer, right? And so then at that point in time, it's obviously powerful to have those pieces where we can connect. So I think it's just important to kind of once again relive the fact of saying growth for us is exciting. And I know it's a bit fearful for some people because the truth is that I believe that potentially they were wronged in one way, shape, or form. It was like, hey, I had a guy or I had a gal, and now that their kids live across the country and they spend time there, and I don't feel that connection, or I don't feel like I'm taken care of. The goal, once again, of our growth here is not necessarily in the territories or the areas that we serve, but it's also in terms of the team, and it's to make sure that we're getting A players. We're creating a trajectory that they can grow into a career. But secondly, to that, or potentially third, I guess, in this example, is to say that we're serving our clients the way they need to be served.
And that can't be underscored enough, right? Because consistently what we hear is what you said. Oh, I didn't know when they'd get back to me, or you know what, I actually haven't heard from my guy in a year. And then when he called me, he just wanted more money, wanted to know if I had any more money to give him. And it's like, whoa, that cannot be the basis for our relationship at all. Kind of pivoting more towards that expansion piece that you mentioned earlier, I guess talk about why we are where we are, and how does it fit as it relates to our brand?
The team would just say I'm crazy, alongside my wife from time to time.
Maybe.
But the truth is, it does circle back to I think two things that have already been brought up. Number one, just the same way that our clients need and want some diversification in their portfolio to run a really strong business, and this was taught to us via COVID, though it be a different example, what we realized is that, wow, if we're just doing live events, and that's the only way we connect with clients or prospective clients, this is an issue, right? And it really proved out the point for me is to say, well, hey, what happens in terms of like, from a geographical perspective, if people leave the state of Illinois or
in droves,
potentially, my family's here, I'm not going anywhere, but I think it's important for us to look at that and just to make a smart business decision. As well as the fact of look at this from a team perspective. And we can get into this some other time, but Jen and I, as we've kind of unpacked some of our big values and goals, though I don't know that we always live it out the best way, we have now looked at this to say, like, this organization is for us not just only to serve clients, though that's critically important, is for us to make sure we're doing our absolute best for our clientele. It's to also serve our team as well. And so I have to look at that under the microscope of, okay, how can we bring on more people? Because I believe a bit of my faith journey is that we are presented with an opportunity to serve other families, not just families that we bring on as clients, but those families that we're able to provide a paycheck to and a career path towards. And also one that allows for some growth in some opportunity. You've already evolved in your role here at Rooted, and kind of taken a step up, if you will. We want to continue to provide those steps, right, or those opportunities to folks. So I think that those are key. But yes, we are expanding for those reasons and have kind of chosen some respective places to plant our flag.
I'm not mad about the places you've chosen, or we've chosen, I guess, together. But there's some pretty fun places. Not to say that there isn't some fun stuff to do in Central Illinois, but for me, I definitely like to travel and get out of the office a little bit, and that certainly provided that opportunity. It is really cool looking out the window of our Denver office and seeing mountains. It gets me all excited.
Well, it was pretty neat to bring Jenna, my wife, out there as well, and just kind of spend a weekend with her. And I think it further accentuates from a personal, potentially a little bit more of a selfish perspective, why it would be neat to have that. We enjoy getting the kids outdoors and trying to get them, away from the screens and the cartoons and so on. And sometimes that's hard to do, but it's a lot easier when you've got a really cool looking mountain sitting out the window. But I think also we had to look at, demographically, we had to make proper business decisions. If once again, these goals are based around what can we do to make an impact to our team, make sure that we're diversifying the company and growing that the right way, not only for our team, but also for our clients, to make sure that they realize that they're working with a company that's properly diversified, that's not going to be exposed only from a small geographical perspective. And though that would be a very unique situation, I think we can all agree that COVID was an interesting, unique situation we maybe hadn't seen before. Right. I haven't anyway. So I think it's just, as I started to look at what are the threats, what are the weaknesses, those did come up over time. Ironically, followed by kind of a typical SWOT analysis would be, what are some opportunities out there? And of course, demographics, people moving to respective areas. Even thinking about where do we align in some of our thought process, where do we think the brand resonates? As you know better than most, our logo, folks, for that you don't know, is a kind of a tree, a big kind of oak tree, if you can picture that, with a very vast root system. That for us is meant to establish connection and relationship, and the fact that we're not going anywhere. We are deeply rooted in our clients' lives, and we are committed to doing, as we say in the office, whatever it takes to make our clients' dreams and goals come true. Do everything within our power. Some things are outside of that, like exactly what the markets are going to do, or political environments and all these different things. But what can we do? And let's control those controllables, and let's make the absolute most for our clients. That aside, I don't know that necessarily, though we have amazing clients in Florida, actually a couple that I'm going to be visiting with here shortly in this next week, probably some of my best clients, but I don't know that an oak tree lands super well. We might have to get like a coconut tree, or a palm tree. we can do that. And get a root system. But I think that, as we looked at, where does it make sense? Where can it resonate? And ultimately, where are we seeing some good data sets as well that maybe makes to a good decision for us from a business.
Not to mention, about half the team members here at Rooted have some kind of connection to the greater Denver area, right? Family members that live there and stuff like that. So it's like, why not? Why not bridge the connection and make it a little stronger?
Well, I think that, it's not just data. A little bit of it was common sense. Yep. Some really fun clients moved down to the Nashville area, and they introduced us to a few other fun clients in the Nashville area. And then, one of probably my most interesting clients that, really headed up a lot of strategic planning for a really big insurance and wealth company, which I enjoy just talking shop with, right? He moves, down to Tennessee. And then, yet another great client that was here in Central Illinois, he moves. And so all of a sudden it was like, man, I don't know what's going on here, but it seems as if this core group of people that we really enjoy, that end up being some of the great clients that we have here at Rooted, they're all kind of fitting into this little pocket down in the Tennessee area. So that made some of that decision easy. And then even as, like you just mentioned, we started to explore, and one of our advisors on the team, he's got family in that area, so on and so forth. The flip side of the coin is Denver, as you just mentioned, to segue that direction. Family members, influences out there, few clients out there, and followed a little bit by like, well, once again, what are some of I know personally your true joys, which, once again, is just kind of a cherry on the top, kind of the same thing for me. It's like, it's really neat to kind of think, hey, we can make a big impact here. We had the opportunity to do some marketing things. It just felt like there was being a path that I felt as if God was saying, hey, we need to at least explore it, right? And, that's the way I know I'd probably, folks, upset the apple cart a little bit because I went back to kind of the man of marketing, Kincho Kelly, and I said, hey, guess what? You were out of the office sick. I made a massive decision. We're going to open in another state. So
hey,
it's been fun.
That was fun. And, when one, door closes, hopefully one opens, and that happened to be the case there. It's kind of been really cool to see how it's all worked together. But I think the data will not lie. I mean, over 100,000 families moved out of the state of Illinois last year. So it's one of those things. It's like we have to be able to pivot, right? Just like when something happens in the market, right? We pivot on the plans. We just have to be prepared for something bigger like that. We're not going anywhere in Bourbonnais. I mean, you're firmly rooted here.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's where our kids go to school and so on and so forth. But I do think it's fun to make those connections into these other states. And I think it's just this has been a good chance to unpack how we landed there. And then once again, we've been working with clients in the Denver area for some time. We've been working with clients in the Nashville, we're kind of tucked into the Brentwood, Franklin area, but for some time. It's just now been in recent years where we've said, hey, since we're coming down here anyway, since we're visiting with clients out this way anyway, what's it look like if we take that next step, which I think has been an invigorating process for me because I enjoy growth and expansion. I think it's been that for the team because once again, I think that most folks want to work for a company that they know they can see a career path with, that they can see some opportunity for growth, that you can potentially pivot into a different role, maybe a more I don't know, maybe a more management type of role, maybe just a next step up type of role, but at least give the opportunity for some change and some evolvement. And I think it's also a good point for us to make here is that once again, that's been a big piece of the expansion here is once again, I'll just reiterate, we've been in some of these other states for years. If you're watching this right now and maybe you're a client in a certain state, maybe Central Illinois, which is where the majority of our clients still are, because that's where the firm was established years ago. It's a good insight to let you know that, hey, we've got clients across the country. Hey, we've had clients in Tennessee for some time, in Denver for some time. And for those maybe looking in from an outside state, just realizing that, hey, we have been firmly rooted in these areas and we're now just putting more and more efforts behind it to fully build out the teams to best serve our clients, whether that is Nashville, whether that is Denver, wherever the case might be.
I mean, you're Mr. Worldwide. We got clients building a house in Thailand. You got clients in Mexico. You got some clients that spend a lot of time in Europe. I can't wait to see where the next Rooted office pops up. Rooted Thailand coming soon?
I always wanted to go. We debated on going there for a honeymoon. We never did go. Maybe that's where the next office lands. I mean,
Leanna loves Thai food, so maybe we'll need to go scope it out a little bit.
Yeah. Little R&D.
That's right. That's a business expense, by the way, right? That'll do it for us today. If you want to talk anything growth with our team, feel free to reach out. 815-918-4727. Until next time, keep digging in.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.